on, young fella.
But Dirk barely got off the ground, couldn't even catch the ball. And I love that his post is like, I wasn't loose yet. I need to lose. I wasn't warmed up. You catch me warmed up. Who knows? I'm putting that thing in backwards. You know what? I love, you open yourself up for criticism and people, you put this dunk on the internet when you're Dirk. You did the same thing, Jalen Rose. We were playing pickup. You were like, film this. I didn't just catch you. You were like, film this. I'm about to dunk. And you jumped up. And I'm not sure this was a dunk, but it wasn't not a dunk. So I salute you for having the same attitude as Dirk Nowitzki. Can you still dunk?
I'm going to get back in the gym and give you guys a better dunk attempt with two hands. I'm going to do it before I play 4 games, not after.
All right. So glad we got that going. Well, we've got some other footage from some summer basketball action. This is from the Drew League, where Chris Paul and James Harden are sharing the same backcourt, just like they will in Houston. However, in this clip, we've got Chris Paul yelling at a dancing James Harden for criticizing him earlier in the possession. Jalen Rose. Chris Paul's yelling, James Harden's dancing, and then James Harden aggressively hugs Chris Paul afterwards. Is this what we should expect from the Houston backcourt as we head into the season?
Absolutely. Mutual respect when both players play into their personality. Yelling at somebody, in theory, for those that haven't really been inside of this foxhole, means that you're demeaning them or that you're trying to slander or embarrass them for teammates or for the public. He was just basically telling him to shoot the ball. Like, basically, I gave you an opportunity. I created a play. Shoot that. Stop playing around with these boys. And so, in theory, it looks like he's yelling at him, but really he's just being aggressive with him. That's why James kept on dancing, ignored him, wasn't tripping at all. And then Harden like, I got this, man. I got 45 in this game. It's all good.
I was Russell Westbrook away from being the MVP. Like, don't worry about this. And what I love about this particular clip is, like, they are so both firmly in their lane. Like, Chris Paul is this sort of like floor general, disciplinarian veteran, and James Harden is this sort of like aloof, hilarious, like idiot savant basketball genius who's super lovable. They're both just so firmly on their corners in this clip. I love it so much. I'm so intrigued by the Houston Rockets backcourt this season. Now we have this news. Not great news for Doc Rivers, but also not that surprising. Late on Friday, which whenever you put a press release out late on Friday, you're trying to get the media to ignore it. Not going to work, Clippers. The Clippers announced that Doc Rivers has been relieved of his general manager duties. Lawrence Frank will handle that. He's still the head coach, but he's no longer the general manager making those sort of basketball decisions. I believe this was a Jerry West move. What sort of impact will this have on the Clippers?
It's going to have a big impact. And the reason why is Doc Rivers had his fingertips on how that roster was being formed. And when pieces of it start to chip away, like DeAndre Jordan was about to leave, then they find a way to keep him. Then Blake's free agency was upon them. Though he was injured, he had an opportunity to leave, but once Chris Paul leaves, it's like, we got to pay Blake top dollar. Then all of a sudden, wait a minute, we're losing Jamal Crawford? He's still one of the best six mans in the league. What happened there was he and Austin Rivers sort of have the same skill set. And so when you see both of those players, you like, wait a minute. Instead of signing Austin to do what Jamal does, how about we go get a small forward that can do what neither one of those guys do? Because at the end of the game, who was their closing lineup? J.J. Redick, who they also lost to the Sixers. Chris Paul, J.J. Redick, and a lot of times Jamal Crawford. So when you look at that lineup, it's not physically imposing. It's definitely not tall. And it had trouble going against teams that trotted out versatile players, in particular ones at the small forward position. So as the roster started to deteriorate and you bring in Jerry West, it's only a matter of time that you get relieved of those duties.
Absolutely. Now, how do you think Doc Rivers feels about this? Because it certainly does feel like Chris Paul decided to leave the Clippers, not the other way around. He went to them and said, look, I'm leaving anyway. You can trade me and get something back. Maybe let's work something out. But how do you think Doc Rivers feels about this?
He has to feel some type of way because, again, you lose Chris Paul and J.J. Redick, you're starting backcourt and a sixth man of the year all in the same summer.
That's 60% of your final five.
No question about it. And so that does say something to, unfortunately, how lackluster he was able to retain those players. And then for some people, it's like, wait a minute, y'all played Blake how much? And so now he becomes the anchor of your situation. And Blake Griffin, to me, has gotten a bad rap by a lot of people. I know that he's been injured when the Clippers had needed him the most. But every time I look down at the box score, it's like 20, 10, 4. So I understand in theory now that we're going to have to move forward. We're moving forward with him. But that does say something about the general manager duties. And that's why Doc lost him.
Do you think Doc Rivers is on the hot seat as a head coach?
I don't think so, because it's easy to throw that out there, but then you look around and say, so who would they hire?
Mm-hmm.
Now, I still scratch my head and wonder, why doesn't Mark Jackson have an NBA head coaching job? Even Colin Kaepernick looking at him like, that's messed up, man.
Now we have this. Speaking of Kaepernick, he was not hired by the Dolphins to replace Ryan Tannehill, who was injured. They've looked and reached out to Jay Cutler, signing him to a $10 million deal. Last time we saw Jay Cutler, he was naked, just looking out on the ocean, just thinking about his future in media, and now they've brought him back into the NFL to start at quarterback for the Dolphins. What do you think about this move?
It shows that the most prominent position in football, it definitely has tiers. And once you start to get between, I'll say, the 20th and the 32nd best teams in the league, those teams a lot of times are scrambling for quarterback play.
Yep.
And when you look at the pool of players that they were possibly considering for this job, Jay Cutler had already taken a job in television. You just acknowledged that he was basically enjoying retirement.
He was naked. He was enjoying himself.
Kobe Bryant and Derek Jeter was looking at him with his shirt off like, I don't see nothing wrong with that. And so now for him to be able to transition probably over the next day or so into leading a football team that was in the playoffs without him last year, it's unfortunate what happened to Ryan Tannehill. But man, it says something about the talent pool that we call that are the NFL quarterbacks.
If I'm Matt Moore, I am so salty right now. I'm like, I've been on this team for 6 or 7 seasons. I'm poised. I know the offense. And you're going to bring in this dude who was naked on vacation, who had a job at Fox. You're going to bring him in to run the team, even though I've been in this locker room for so long. I'm surprised that they did not put Matt Moore in the starting position. But this has me just thinking about one more thing. Jalen, after this, the first thing that came to mind is, could the same thing happen to Tony Romo?
I don't think so, because Tony Romo got a better gig.
Yeah, he got the number one spot. Yeah, he's got the number one spot. Yeah, he's just like, Jay Cutler, he was like, yeah, maybe this media thing will work out. Tony Romo's looking at his checks like, wait, and I don't get hit? And I get paid this?
And I like when we were talking about this, because it's really laughable when I hear some of the names they was considering. Did you say Tim Tebow?
Tim Tebow, who's half in media, half in minor league baseball. They're considering him as starting quarterback. Matt Moore would have just quit. He'd be like, you know what? I'm out of here. I don't care. You guys can keep all the money, tear my contract, whatever it takes. You're bringing Tim Tebow in here? No. Coming up next on Jalen and Jacoby, we've got some information on a gentleman by the name of DeMarcus Cousins, also known as
Boogie!
That's next on Jalen and Jacoby on ESPN2. Explain the plot to Ocean's 11.
It's 11 people.
Yep, definitely that.
Water is a huge factor.
It's a big part of our
place,
planet.
and not just a man-made lake. Oceans.
Multiple.
11 of them.
11 oceans.
Right? There's a lifeguard.
Yeah.
And he wants to make sure he saves people from drowning.
Yeah. I mean, no one wants to see anybody drown.
He had to encounter different people who were on the beach, and had issues directly and indirectly with the water.
Exactly. That was a great summary of the plot to Baywatch. Charles Oakley has tweeted about his 1-year ban from Madison Square Garden. He said, quote, I want to thank all my fans around the world. The case is over now. That was the hard part. The easy part is staying away from the Garden. Oak! How do you think the Knicks should have handled this situation?
Well, it initially started between two individuals, James Dolan and Charles Oakley. And the bottom line was, there were strict orders that once Oak was on the premises, that everybody should be notified to the point where he's not allowed to move around in the garden. Basically, he was being watched. And so once he got past the initial protocol, if it was up to initial security, who I think lost his job because of this, Oak would never have gotten to his seat. So once Oak got to his seat, he's just like the other civilians at a basketball game. He's allowed to say what he wants to who he wants. But the genius in what he did, he sat where whatever he yelled would be an earshot of the person that he wanted to hear him. And that was the owner, James Dolan. So for that, now all of a sudden you want to remove him from the premises. And for anybody that's ever been around Charles Oakley, you're not going to just physically remove him from the premises without any resistance. And so with that being said, the awful footage is out there. We've seen it. This situation has been resolved. Oak can see the team when they come to Cleveland.
You know what?
He'll be sitting next to the owner, cheering for LeBron.
I'm just a little concerned for Oak because what if, like, Dave Chappelle does a stand-up show at the Garden? You know, I think he doesn't want to go to Knicks games, but the Garden has a lot of good performances. Billy Joel comes by. Like, I just feel like Oak is he's being short-sighted about this. It's not just Knicks games, Oak. But I do have to ask you a simple question that you've talked about off wax a little bit, and I want to get it on wax. Is it true that Charles Oakley once slapped Charles Barkley?
That's true. They had a physical altercation. It was during the lockout year, I want to say 98, New York City. I didn't see it with my own two eyes. The altercation happened before myself and Paul Pierce actually arrived at the meeting. But I remember coming down the elevator.
It was a
there
meeting
was a TV
environment?
right there. I'm like, they agreed to a deal? Why do we fly all the way to New York? They agreed before we even got to the meeting. But I got love for Oak, and you know I got love for Charles Barkley. He's one of my mentors in this industry. But yes, I'm glad there was no footage, and social media did not exist then.
Let's move on. Ricky Rubio is now joining the Jazz, and he said this about his new team, quote, "To get traded, it's not fun, but I was really excited to go to an organization that really believed in me." Jalen Rose, take us behind the curtain. What does it feel like to get traded?
There are a couple of things that get discussed in sports that, like we did a Holly burial, I wish a few terms would get retired. The one is bust. Flicking through the channel yesterday, and a great E60 piece on Darko Milicic. And so many people calling him a bust. You know where they were doing that interview? In his multi-million-dollar house.
In his farm, where he's got like 200 acres of apples.
Right. He's riding horses. He's selling
he seems
apples.
Happy. He seems happy. Yeah.
And so what Ricky Rubio is truly saying to the audience, because a lot of times it's, he was moved. He was shipped out of town. Really, in the NBA, all they're doing is transferring your salary. It's not like you take a pay cut to go to another team. You're leaving a team that just acquired other people to play your position that they feel like may be better. Teague, Jamal Crawford. And now all of a sudden you go to Utah where they lose Gordon Hayward in the backfield, in the backcourt. You're like, I'm about to get an opportunity to ball here. So that's really what he's saying. It's something that you can't take personal in professional sports.
One player that was famously traded last year is a gentleman by the name of DeMarcus Cousins, also known as
Boogie!
Gentleman by the name of DeMarcus Cousins, also known as
Boogie!
Boogie was traded to the Pelicans, and going into this year with the Pels, he had this to say, quote, "Probably the best I've felt my whole career." What do you expect from Boogie this year?
Is he a free agent at the end of this year?
He is. This is a contract year for young Mr. Cousins.
He's going to do work. And again, when you hear a lot of NBA chatter about players being moved, in particular, all-star level players that could change the dynamic of your favorite team, always look at the fact that there are some players that are already etched in their current situation that won't be moved. So if in order to change your dynamic from a team that is a low-level playoff seeded team or a team that's out of the playoffs, you have to get a player that was in last year's All-Star game, unless it was Chris Paul. And so I'm looking at the guys who haven't signed long-term deals with their current teams. Paul George, Isaiah Thomas, Boogie Cousins. These are all players that we got to watch and see how their scenarios are going to evolve as the season starts.
And when you look at a player in a contract year, people always say contract year, right? Because they are playing for their next deal. They're trying extra hard. You can see Boogie getting frustrated if he's not getting the numbers that he wants or the touches that he wants. And you can see the Pelicans sort of like reading the tea leaves and saying, you know what? Boogie's not going to sign a long-term deal to stay with us, the Pelicans. So we might as well ship him out before the deadline to get something in return for this asset that we have. And remember, they got Boogie on 50 cents on the dollar. So I could certainly see Boogie being moved before the deadline this year with the Pelicans. Such a fascinating team the Pelicans have this year. Rondo and Boogie and Anthony Davis. It's going to be crazy in New Orleans. I cannot wait. Mikhail Prokhorov, you remember him? What did he say when he bought the Nets?
He was like, not only are we going to win the championship, but we're going to do it within the first 5 years of my ownership. If we don't do it, I'm going to punish myself by getting married.
Is he married? Is he married? I don't have the research in front of me, but I don't think he's married. And my memory isn't the best, but I don't remember the Nets winning the NBA Finals. So Mr. Prokhorov, you know what he's going to do now? He doesn't want to get married so bad. He's like, I'm selling the team. I'm selling the team just like because I keep my promises and I don't want to get married, so I'm going to sell the team. There are reports that he would sell the team for $2 billion. Could these Nets possibly be worth $2 billion?
I don't have to tell you, especially with your East Coast roots. Mm-hmm. That's just for the real estate in Brooklyn.
Of course. You can't even rent a 2-bedroom apartment for $2 billion in that neighborhood anymore.
No question about it. And these NBA franchises continue to exceed what the original purchase price was for these owners because the game has grown. Mm-hmm. And I know we talk a lot about football being the most popular sport, and it is, but they play once a week. Basketball teams and basketball players are clearly more recognizable. And when you look at the salaries that continue to escalate in the NBA, it only makes sense for the franchises to do the exact same thing.
And you look at the Houston Rockets, who are also on the block, and you can see their roster is fully formed. They are going to be a contending team in the playoffs. I'm not going to pick them as champions, but they're going to be a contending team. You look at the Brooklyn Nets, and you say, well, their roster is not evolved. They do have a front office. They seem to have a rebuilding direction, and they are the Brooklyn Nets. They've got a brand new arena. They've got the Brooklyn logo on their shirt. That team is just worth a lot of money. I think he is going to get this $2 billion for this team. And he's also not going to get married anytime soon. There's no way he's getting married because they're definitely not winning a championship this year. I'll tell you that right now. When we come back, we will celebrate who is, in my mind, the most underappreciated athlete of our time, Usain Bolt. That's next on Jalen and Jacoby on ESPN2. King Louie the lobster is a 23-pound lobster, estimated to be 100 years old. Well, this lobster is getting famous. There's a woman who said, you know what? King Louie needs to reign freely over the ocean waters. So this woman bought this lobster, and she intends to free King Louie. If you had the option to free or eat King Louie, which would you do?
Is this a trick question?
Nope.
King Louie getting on that grill.
Sorry, King Louie. The grill's hot. I'm hungry. King Louie, I know you're the king and everything, but you're about to get beheaded. This Tuesday, ESPN Films will feature 2 high school basketball stories and new documentaries premiering back-to-back on ESPN and the ESPN app. Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern is the Baltimore Boys, and then at 9:30, the Morningside 5. Jalen Rose, as we get closer and closer to the Mayweather-McGregor super spectacle, the story's been twisted into the story of Paulie Malignaggi. The sparring partner of Conor McGregor has inserted himself into the news cycle, and he's done it once again this Monday. This time he is saying that when Conor McGregor gets hit in the body, he whimpers like a girl. Jalen Rose, are you surprised?
It's one of those things, like when you become an athlete, you become so insulated to how the rest of the world is going to digest this. And for somebody that loves to stand in the ring and shadow box and hit the mitts, because I ain't trying to get hit back. For the rest of us, that's how we all sound when we get hit in the body.
You get punched in the stomach. I would scream like a baby. I wouldn't whimper like a girl. I would curl up in the fetal position, immediately call 911 on my phone, and not be able to speak when the operator picks up. That's what would happen to me. Paulie Malignaggi, you know what? I'm really excited for this fight to come, and I'm also excited for you no longer to be a part of the news cycle anymore.
Well, just think about it like this. Between now and the fight, these type of things are going to be said every day. Mm-hmm. And then after Conor loses, it's going to be the I told you so.
Yes. Yep.
And
that.
then all of a sudden, guess what? The guy you just mentioned is going to be promoting his next fight.
Exactly.
That's how it works.
And let's be the first ones to do this. Floyd Mayweather's going to win this fight, right? So Floyd's going to go retire. What's going to be next for McGregor? Does he go back to MMA? Does he try to fight another fighter like Lomachenko or something?
You go back to the octagon. You already made your big bucks in the squared circle. You were a part of a spectacle with Floyd Mayweather. Now you go back to your day job.
Sure. Well, I know that you're on the fence as to whether or not you are going to attend this spectacle. You know, it's hard. You don't like to move too much. You know what I mean? You don't like to be in the big crowds. But one thing I know about you is you're only semi-retired when it comes to champagning and campaigning. You are fully retired from the NBA, even though you haven't filled out the paperwork. But you're only semi-retired from champagning and campaigning. And we have the champagne and campaign lineup for the McGregor-Mayweather weekend in Vegas. And I'm now going to propose it to you to see if it will draw you out to Las Vegas. Friday night at Dre's, we've got 50 Cent, Trey Songz, and your guy, Jeezy. Also at Hakkasan, we've got Steve Aoki. Omnia is featuring Calvin Harris. And then Saturday after the fight at Dre's, we've got Chris Brown, Hakkasan, Travis Scott. Rick Rouse is at The Light. Jamie Foxx is hosting at Jewel. And then we got Diddy at Rehab. And Conor McGregor is hosting himself at Surrender Nightclub. Is this enough to get you out to Vegas for the fight?
Possibly. But the one thing about being a veteran of Las Vegas and a longtime fight fan, there are going to be a lot of people that say they're going to the fight, but they're really just going to Vegas. Mm-hmm. So I've learned the difference between the two. If I'm actually going to go to the fight, that's going to excite me more than obviously going to shows. Now, I'd love to see Jamie Foxx. Might have to hit him up. Might have to hit up Jeezy the Snowman.
I'm definitely not going because I don't like big events and big crowds, but I know if I were to go, I would go so hard on Friday night that I would fall asleep and sleep through the fight on Saturday. I know that's what would happen to me. There's a 100% chance that's how I would play it, and I would waste all the money that I spent on the ticket.
I might have to holla at Diddy and Rose.
You got Diddy on text?
Yes, indeed.
Tell him I said hello. Sean. Usain Bolt lost his final 100-meter race against Justin Gatlin. And it got me thinking, is Usain Bolt, he is in my opinion, but I want you to answer this, is Usain Bolt the most underappreciated athlete of our time?
I'm rolling with you on that one. And I think a part of it is the sport that he participates in. Mm-hmm. In America, we truly only get a chance to appreciate his greatness in big races that relate to Americans, and usually that happens during the Olympics.
Every 4 years, yep.
Which is every 4 years. So a lot of times we get so enamored in the things that happen more often, like the NBA or the NFL.
Yep.
Soccer is the world's most popular sport, but it's not here in the United States.
Nope.
So I am rolling with that theory.
I would say Serena would be the other person that comes to mind, but let's take a look at some of Usain's accolades. He holds the world record in the 100-meter sprint at 9.58. He set that in 2009, and no one has really even come close since. He has 8 Olympic gold medals. Probably should have more, but there's some controversy. He's the only man to win the 100, 200, and the 4x100 at an Olympics more than once. He did that twice. Think about that. He won the 100, the 200, and the 4x100 twice. Bolt has also won the 100-meter at World Championships 3 times, which is tied for the most. I honestly think that he is the most underappreciated athlete of our time. And I think that as we get some distance and perspective on his career, we will start to celebrate the work of Usain Bolt more and the big personality that he has. Like, we haven't seen we might have seen the last of Usain Bolt wearing the tracksuit and running the track, but something tells me that he'll be in our lives for some time to come. It is time. There's a lot of popular summer series. Game of Thrones come to mind, which I love. Power, which you love. But it's time for the most popular summer series that we have going, and that is LeBron James listening to hip-hop during a shirtless workout. That series continued this weekend with LeBron James posting more shirtless workouts of himself listening to hip-hop. This time it was Meek Mill that he was bumping to, and as I was watching these, it really seems like he has started to embrace his hairline. Jalen Rose, is this the season in which LeBron James finally pulls back his own dome curtain and lets the follicles fly?
We need all Jalen and Jacoby supporters, fans, and followers to help with this petition.
Okay.
Somebody please get it started. We need LeBron James and the Cleveland Cavaliers to petition the NBA for LeBron to be the first guy to wear an NBA-issued do-rag during NBA games.
Yes, if you're allowed to wear a headband, okay? If you're allowed to wear a headband, there has to be a loophole in there somewhere where you can wear a do-rag. If LeBron James played the entire season in a do-rag, there's no chance they would win the championship. There's no one could stop them. Not the Golden State Warriors, not the Rockets, not the Celtics. Do-rag LeBron cannot be stopped. He cannot be tamed. LeBron, I know you watch this every single day, at least more than one time. Please wear the do-rag. Is it going to be two-tone with the Cavs colors? Is that what you go with?
Absolutely. Just think about it like this. I remember being a guy walking in the mall and they weren't selling black socks. And before you know it, they're everywhere. I wish I was getting a percentage of the proceeds.
There you go,
along
LeBron.
with my other Fab Five brothers.
Yeah, holler at Mav. Get that license, get that patent.
Marketing and a patent. Just think about it like this. You see NBA players with hoodies.
Mm-hmm.
We've seen LeBron with multiple things on his head after practice.
Oh, yeah. Sleeves.
Almost stocking cap. It almost looks like he cut off a shirt and put it on top of his head.
He has done that multiple times just before he sees cameras.
Exactly.
LeBron.
So it's only right. It's right in. It just totally makes sense.
LeBron, wear the do-rag this year. We implore you. And that concludes our favorite summer series, LeBron James. Listening to hip-hop during a shirtless workout. John Wall had something interesting to say after he signed an extension with the Wizards. He said this about Kyrie Irving requesting a trade. Quote, "It's kind of tough. If I had been to 3 straight NBA finals, I'd want to stay, but you never know what type of relationship or what type of details they have going on the backside. Nobody knows what's going on behind closed doors. He's one of those guys that wants to be the main guy." Do you think Kyrie Irving wants to be John Wall and John Wall wants to be Kyrie Irving?
That's usually how it happens in sports. Kyrie Irving has accomplished some things team-wise that John Wall hasn't been able to accomplish. He just mentioned it. Making it to the finals 3 straight years, winning a championship, playing on the biggest stage with an iconic performer in LeBron James. John Wall being the best player in Washington, D.C., and rightfully so, has become an all-NBA performer, a perennial all-star. Now, his challenge is going to be if he can help elevate and lift that franchise to some of the heights that the Cleveland Cavaliers have been able to accomplish. So he's looking like, man, me and you could switch spots tomorrow.
Exactly. Like you want to be the man. You can be the man here in Washington because I wouldn't mind going to the finals for 3 straight years and being able to showcase my abilities on that stage. Finally, we have this. Malia Obama was at Lollapalooza in Chicago. She was backstage listening to the Killers, and she was pumped. She's dancing. She's headbanging. She's on the ground, pounding the ground to the music. Jalen Rose, after this video is posted by TMZ and circulated around the world and spoken about on Jalen and Jacoby, do you think our friends Barry and Michelle will send her a very strongly worded text?
I think so. And they'll send a private plane. Like, where are you right now?
Yeah, they'll send a private plane. Like, Chicago, okay. This is what the tail says on the plane. Get yourself to the airport.
But she's 19 years old. Mm-hmm. She was having fun. We have 0 issues with it.
No.
I'm glad that she was at the show having a good time.
If you could see some video of some of the things that I did when I was 19, I would be fired immediately. They would take me out of the studio with security right now. When we come back, we have a very important statue and waves update. We'll explain after this. Jalen and Jacoby on ESPN2.
Got to give the people time. Give people what they want.
Leonardo DiCaprio reportedly flew an eyebrow specialist from Australia to do his eyebrows for the Oscars.
Oh, that's a boss move. if my barber's in Los Angeles and I'm going to Bristol, Connecticut for a book tour, I'm flying him as well.
You did not do that.
Yes, indeed.
You did that in real life?
I did, sir.
That is ridiculous. Don't say that again on wax.
I was in New
You're
York
embarrassing the both
doing
of us.
multiple interviews
Embarrassed to be on the same logo as
on
you.
one day.
Yeah, no one else can get your hairline straight in New York City. None of those 12 million people.
Familiarity.
I've never said this to you before. You have too much money. Welcome back to Jalen and Jacoby on ESPN2. It is time to give the people what they want.
Got to give the people time. Give people what they want.
Jalen Rose, we open up our Twitter feed, we go into our subreddit, and we listen to our voicemails to take questions from our viewers and listeners. The first one is from Twitter, and it is brilliant. Jalen, one thing you care about very much is your waves. You are constantly brushing. You wear a do-rag at night. This is something that you take a lot of pride and passion in, and something that you've earned over hard work and time. This comes from Twitter. It's from FCSUB. Hey, Jalen Rose, what can you say about LT's waves on his Hall of Fame statue? Did he use a do-rag? Jalen Rose, what do you think about these statue waves?
So, I have a lot to say about this topic.
You do. I know you do. I'll take your time, Mr. Rose.
Gather around the campfire, boys and girls.
Okay.
I'm actually using my platform to talk about the way I'm rocking my hair and rocking waves to encourage other young people to probably follow suit.
Mm-hmm. But you've worked hard for these waves.
And for you to say that I've worn a do-rag, I can't front. I barely wear it.
Okay.
Reg got it for me 6 months ago, and I need to start doing a better job. However, when I saw LaDainian Tomlinson's Hall of Fame bust, I looked at it twice. I'm like, is that me?
But he didn't earn the waves. LaDainian Tomlinson didn't have waves in real life, and now
he
his
didn't
statue
have
has waves.
when he played.
And now he has waves eternally in the Hall of Fame. Like it's not only. I mean, I think he belongs in the Hall of Fame, but I don't think he belongs in the Hall of Fame with a fictional haircut. You know what I mean?
He's now in working with the Chargers, who now play in Los Angeles.
Mm-hmm.
LT, you know I got love. We must get you on the show. How did your Hall of Fame bust end up with waves? Did somebody discuss this with you?
No, he wrote a strongly worded email to the Hall of Fame. He's like, I don't care what my face looks like. I don't care how big it is. I don't care where you put me. Just make sure that I have waves on my head and we are good.
You were a fellow number 5 when you were in college. And now your Hall of Fame bust, you didn't have waves when you played.
He didn't earn them. He earned his way into the Hall of Fame. He did not earn the waves on his head in the Hall of Fame.
Congratulations to all of the Hall of Famers. Jerry Jones, Jason Taylor. I know I'm going to forget somebody. Terrell Davis, Morton Anderson.
Moving on. This is also from Twitter. This is from Rob Rogers. This is for Jalen. Be careful. One's got to go. Lobsters, power, or your crispy hairline.
Oh, this is easy. This is easy. Did you see
gone.
Power? Did you see Power?
No, I don't watch
the
Power.
most recent one?
I watch Game of Thrones.
Oh, man, you got to start watching Power.
Stay focused on the question, sir.
This is easy. Lobster.
Lobster's gone. There's a lot of alternatives to lobster. There's no alternatives to having a crispy hairline. You know?
I love seafood. I'll just eat more crab, eat more fish.
Exactly. This comes from our subreddit, is from 41. I love this question. Who is the greatest pro athlete that isn't/wasn't athletic? Who did the most with the least? The first person that came to my mind was Larry Bird. He's the first person to tell you that he can't run, he can't jump. Like, Larry Bird just willed himself into a Hall of Fame career just with the power of his mind in Indiana free time.
Larry Legend, you know how much I love him. I got an answer that's going to actually surprise you.
Oh, really? Because we talked about it earlier.
And this guy has 5 Super Bowl rings. Tom Brady. You seen his combine video?
The picture of him at the combine gives everybody hope. It gives all shrumpy dudes in high school hope. Like, if Tom Brady is the greatest of all time, and that's what he looks like with his shirt off, I can be the greatest quarterback of all time if I just do some sit-ups. Next question we have is from Twitter. Soft move or boss move, hiring a ref for your pickup hoops game like Kyrie did. Kyrie Irving, there was some video over the weekend of him berating a teammate for turning the ball over. And I noticed this as well. There was a referee at his pickup hoops game, which anyone who's played a lot of pickup hoops in their life like we have could solve a lot of problems. Soft move or boss move?
This is the greatest boss move ever.
I think so too. Like, if we all have our regular pickup runs with the regular dudes, we all know that one guy that makes crazy calls or that one guy who's just so loud that he doesn't respect your call. Like, it would solve a lot of problems if everyone just chipped in $5 and you had somebody in stripes there. You could yell at them instead of the other team. I like this. I like this
and
a lot.
I really like your minivan pin today. You're looking handsome today, sir.
Thank you. That's off topic. If you call 985-80 Jalen, you can leave us a voicemail, and then we'll play it on the show, just like this one.
What's up, Jalen? What's up, Jacoby? This is Corey from Louisville, Kentucky. You guys were talking about cultural names, and Jalen said that Denzel is one of the biggest names of all time. Me and my dad were at the Basketball Hall of Fame last month on a father-son trip, and we were looking at Denny Crum's plaque, the former coach for U of L. Dude's first name is Denzel. His Christian name that his mama gave him was Denzel Crum. Also might be the whitest dude of all time. Just saying, they're out there. Peace.
Denzel Crum. Denny Crum's name is Denzel. We did a lot of research on this. We reached out to the SID at the University of Louisville. Denzel Crum. That changes everything I thought I knew about Denny Crum. I love this so much.
It's still cultural because what did we call him?
Denny.
Okay. Not Denzel. He wasn't owning it. He was like,
No.
I'm not running with that.
I just love the idea to think that Denzel Washington is named after Denny Crum. You know?
Not
It's
at
like,
all.
that's what I like to
But
think
I
about.
also said Shaquille's. You got to
Every-
find me some non-black Shaquille's also.
Every
or women.
single time I see Denzel Washington, I'm going to think about Denny Crum now. This is the greatest thing that I have ever learned. When we come back on Jalen Jacoby, it is finally time for Jalen to tell the real story of when Kobe Bryant scored 81 points on him and the Raptors. That's next. Welcome back to Jalen and Jacoby. Jalen Rose. We are about to play one of the most famous story times with Jalen Rose we ever did. It is the story of when Kobe Bryant scored 81 points on you and the Toronto Raptors. Let's watch.
If Michael Jordan is the original, Kobe Bryant is the remix, baby.
Gather round, it's story time. Story time with Jalen Rose.
Toronto Raptors. We hoped to be a playoff team. We had some injuries. And it was right after we had just traded Vince Carter. I actually came there to run with Vince. Hey, yeah, I'm going to Toronto to run with Vince. Absolutely, that'll be great. And before I know it, they were complaining about where his mom parked and complaining about him. I'm like, this guy's a superstar player. Like, leave him alone. Mess with these other 13 guys. We were playing a 1-2-2 zone in the NBA versus Kobe Bryant. Yeah. And we were winning earlier in the game. So it gave us, I guess, some false sense of security. Duh, who's Kobe going to pass it to? All right, Smush Parker, he's open for a jumper. Okay. So before you know it, Kobe's putting up pretty good numbers, but he's not really going off. I think he probably had 20-something in the first half. And then I want to say he erupted for like 40 or something in the third quarter.
How does that happen?
He was dominant over us. You know, when you growing up, and then the rim in the backyard is 8 foot tall, and there's one guy that can really probably dunk on the 10-foot hoop, but he's playing on the 8-foot hoop. That's how he was dominant, putting a smack down on us. He really did.
Is he talking to you?
He didn't say a word. And we thought about doing some things to him during the game. I remember one time we came to the sideline, and Mike James, myself, and a couple of guys huddled up, and we were talking to Sam Mitchell about, hey, Coach, think we might want to double team that guy? Maybe make someone else beat us? That may help.
And it never happened.
He was playing one-on-one between the legs, behind the back for three to the basket. I just remember realizing at one point in the game, this may be something historic happening right now.
Were you checking him?
Oh, I did guard him. I got a healthy 19. But I was so frustrated. I'm like, Coach, we got to make this guy at least work on D. Right now he's guarding me I'm about to take him to the post. Sam Mitchell got so mad at me for doing that. He didn't want me, A, to do it again. B, he took me out.
Why didn't you guys double team him?
That's a great question. And coaches go through this sometime. Since you didn't listen to me 100%, I'm going to watch you suffer. And coaches do that to their basketball teams when they feel like they want to send a message to the team.
So you think Sam Mitchell was trying to send a message to the team?
Absolutely. But Kobe sent a stronger one to all of us.
When you huddle up with Mike and Mo, what did you guys say to each other?
We suck. We're idiots. Why do we let that happen? Why didn't we clothesline that guy? But you know what? All of that is a tribute to the respect that we have for Kobe. Because if he would have been taunting in any way, shape, or form, it would have all went different. When you're going against a guy like that, there are going to be historic nights. And it's not like Luke Walton scored 20 on me. Like, if that would have happened, I would have buried my head in the sand.
Story time with Jalen Rose.
Unnecessary shot at Luke Walton at the end there, Jalen Rose. Come on now.
I agree. I got love for Luke.
Unnecessary shot at Luke Walton. He could have easily scored 20 on you. You played no defense. But do you feel that you are unfairly associated with Kobe Bryant's 81-point performance?
I was a part of the team, so it's all fair game. And I'm a public figure. I'm on social media. I become the target for it. We should own it. He's an all-time great player. And this is what happens when you get a chance to compete against the all-time best. They have historic moments and evenings. Unfortunately, I was on the wrong side of it.
Does Kobe Bryant bring it up every time you see him?
He doesn't have to because I do. I'm like, dog, really? Even in Jalen versus everybody. Like, I wasn't acting. That commercial that we shot, that wasn't acting. We really walked in. I'm looking at him like, seriously? Like, what's up, man?
You know, he didn't want to come to the shoot until he saw the script. He's like, oh, I'll definitely come to make fun of Jalen. Yeah, he's like, no, I can't do that. What's a sitcom? Like, no, I can't do it. He's like, oh, wait, does it 81 points joke? I'm there. We'll be there tomorrow, ESPN 2 at 2 p.m. Don't forget to subscribe to our podcast. It's Jalen and Jacoby on ESPN 2. See you tomorrow.
Got to give the people